Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine morning? I have to say, all of you looking particularly handsome this morning. Have you got a new moisturizing regime that you're not sharing with me? You're all looking damn splendid. Good morning, everyone. Um, Let me go back to the very beginning here. At 5 past 5 this morning, Dan Cullen said, Good morning officially. How was everyone's weekend? Hope you had a spooktacular fun. I have to say, I don't know what it was like where you were, but Halloween, I'm kind of grateful of it. Was a bit of a washout. Absolutely chucked it down with rain where I am, and we had nobody knock on the door at all. Literally nobody at all. However, and maybe this is peculiar to Stoneleigh or Epsom where I live. I had to pop out on Friday night, Halloween evening, only down to the local shops, but it was pouring with rain, so I took the car. And in the Sainsbury's local where I tend to get my bits and pieces, there was a guy dressed as the Joker. There was a guy dressed as a Frankenstein's monster. There was another guy dressed as Einstein, and there was a guy dressed as Del Boy, which not entirely sure that's particularly horrific, but you get the idea. But four or five guys, all in costume, and they were accompanied by what I can only describe as four hookers. The the guys, the guys had all had a think about it and decided, yeah, we're gonna be this particular character. The girls had got together and said, we're just going to wear as little as possible. And it was chucking it down with rain as well. I mean, listen, I wasn't disappointed. Just is that the thing now? Men go as horror characters or Del Boy, and girls basically get their kit off. It's a weird thing. Weird thing. Good morning, everyone. Didn't get a great deal of sleep last night, and we've got a bit of a disjoint today. I don't have a question of the day because I can't find the jingle for it. I've got to dig a bit deeper. I can't find the jingle for it, and we're not exactly out of giveaways, but I want to save a few for a bit later in the year, as it were. But we do have, I tell you now, we do have something that I'm looking forward to showing you. I'll get to that in just a moment. Um, let's have a look. Chris Ford saying, "Are we ready to roll?" Just about. My other half was not particularly well in the night, so I've had virtually no sleep. So thanks for that, Ruth. And yet, despite all of that, she's got up this morning, gone to work. Morning, Mark Whiting, Dan Cullen back for the official beginning. Ken Hatcher. Ken Hatcher has basically all the weather. The only thing you're missing there is plagues of locusts, I would say, Ken. Gary Muirhead is here as well. Morning, Gary. Jim Turner is here. Ken Hatcher said, I had 6 groups on Friday evening. All my sweets gone. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I did try once. We actually went to like a cash and carry, and we bought a witch's cauldron, filled it up with like not penny sweets, but you get the idea. First bunch of kids that arrived just upended the whole bleeding lot into a bag and buggered off, so we had nothing left. I'm going to say good morning to Matt at Agridig. Agridig over on Instagram. Good morning to you as well. How's things, mate? Well, things are dandy here. How are things with you? Andy Darvell, morning. Wet and windy out again. Was a good weekend. Good fun trick and treating with my daughter. Good, glad to hear. What did you get? What did you get? Did you get good things? I had rain come into my room Friday night at 2 a.m. Was woken up by drip on to table in the room. Yeah, we've had a bit of that recently. When was it? It wasn't Friday. I think it may have been Thursday. Thursday night we actually had some rain coming in 2 places. In our bedroom, thankfully not over the bed, and in my daughter's bedroom as well. Very, very weird. I put a picture of Jimmy Savile in the window. That kept away the trick-or-treaters. Well done. Chris Phil says, join the club. I was looking for an ice pack at 3:30 a.m. All I had was the flu injection. It was blowing up under the tiles. I live in basically the end of a cul-de-sac, and by and large, we're protected from the wind. But every once in a while, the wind comes this way, and it whistles up under the tiles, and we get a bit of a drip. Yeah, it can chuck it down with rain for hours on end, not a thing. But if the wind changes direction, guaranteed. Yeah, do need to do something about that. Loads to get through today. As I say, we've it's a bit confused, partly because I didn't have a great deal of sleep. I was going to reintroduce the question of the day. We've got some from Gary. but I've completely lost the jingle, so I'm going to have to go back through the archives and bring that back. So while we're worrying about that, let me roll the intro, not post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. And Dan says I'm top floor of flats, and it's an old building too. That's all it takes, isn't it? Anyway, let's roll the intro, shall we? Oh, here we go. Jim Turner says, we called it and see my mum on Friday night. She had some sweets near the door in case anyone knocked. So I had a few. It was gone 9 o'clock when we left. So I took the rest with me. Well played. Well played indeed. Is Fantastic Mr. Fox still making a win in the garden? I've not seen him in the garden for a few weeks, but I've seen him out on the drive a few times. He's still around. And boy, oh boy, does he love a dog biscuit. And does a weird thing. You know, if I give one of my dogs a biscuit, they crunch it up, they eat it, they swallow it. You give it to Foxy, and he picks up 2 or 3, walks away to a safe distance, lays them out around him, and then eats them one at a time. Yeah. And Matt Agridig says it's wet in Wales as usual. He must be very close to our friend Mr. Hatcher. I'm not entirely sure whereabouts in Wales the pair of you are, but Wales is wet, isn't it? It is just wet. Anyway, people, it is time to get this show on the road. So let me tell you what we've got coming up for you. It's Monday. It's the 3rd of November. Pinch and punch. And I know it's not the first day of the month, but did we miss that? I think we did. Yeah, we did. We missed the first day of the month. So happy November, everyone. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition, the Lord High Chancellor of live streaming. And in today's show, we're going to be introducing the Powerplus PP380 excavator. Caterpillar scales the site, forging strong bonds with Dynapac. MBI's rotating pulveriser gets the munchies. And as I say, we do have a little surprise for you, a very attractive surprise, to say. We're about, well, no, we have restocked. We have a merch shop. I think some of you have actually purchased from it in the past, and for that I'm very grateful. We have a merch shop. Our best-selling merch item, by a country mile, is we've got a range of t-shirts and sweatshirts and hoodies that have the slogan "Wreck the Halls," not deck the halls, but wreck the halls. You know, demolition, wreck. You get the idea. Outsold everything else, probably 10 to 1, I would imagine, possibly even more than that. Well, they're back. They're back in stock, and we've got a new. I want to say it's a new advert, but it's quite nice to look at. Let me just leave it at that. Today's morning monologue, I would tell you, is called Another Day in Paradise. And yes, I do mean that very, very sarcastically. So, should we crack on? I think we probably should. Let's start with this. Right, let's clear this up. Ken Hatcher is working in Newport. I haven't heard back from our friend at Agridig. No, he's as it stands at the moment, just Wales. Where are you, Matt? Dan Cullen saying, I shared your monologue on Friday, got some good responses. Good, glad to hear it. Gary Muirhead, hope Ruth gets well soon. Give her our love, please. I certainly will. Any new stickers, says Dan? No. Now, we are... I don't know why I save these things for the end of the year, because when it rolls around, it's like, oh, have I really got to do that? We do then tend to do a bit of an update come the Christmas time, because I have a couple of weeks off to sit here and basically eat chocolate and twiddle my thumbs. So we are planning to restock the merch store with some new stuff. There's some bits and pieces in there that they're still for sale, but they're kind of outdated, and there's some other bits and pieces that we want to bring in. Stickers will certainly be one of them. Matt is in Blackwood. I'm not sure where Blackwood is in Welsh Wales. If anybody can tell me, love to hear from you. So, new excavator from the fine folks at Powerplus, and it looks like this.
In the toughest mining, quarry, and construction sites, true power thrives. Introducing the Powerplus PP380E Mark 11 excavator, where strength meets reliability. Powered by a world-renowned Cummins engine, delivering a commanding 328 horsepower, this 36.5-ton powerhouse is built to outperform while optimizing fuel efficiency to keep operating costs down. Equipped with best-in-class Kawasaki pump, valve, and swing motor, along with a heavy-duty traveling motor, it delivers unmatched hydraulic efficiency and precision. With its rugged 1.8 cubic meter bucket and a reinforced heavy-duty undercarriage, every load is maximized for success. Triple Grouser track shoes provide superior grip and stability, while a swing speed of 8.2 revolutions per minute ensures faster cycle times and unbeatable efficiency. Inside the ergonomically designed cabin is a full digital display of critical parameters, intuitive pilot joystick controls, and Rob's FOPS protection, allowing the operator to stay in command with comfort and safety. In extreme climates, the enlarged radiator keeps the system cool under scorching heat, while the advanced cyclonic filter ensures peak performance even in dusty conditions. Strength, reliability, endurance. The Powerplus PP380E Mark 11 excavator, your ultimate partner for mining, quarrying, and heavy-duty construction.
I don't actually work from a script during the main part of the show. I do for the morning monologue because I can never remember it all. But I've actually got written on my screen here, anybody think that looks like a Komatsu? I'm not going to bother because Gary Muirhead says, looks like a Komatsu. Chris Ford says, Komatsu copy. Dan Cullen saying, Komatsu renamed. Gary Muirhead says, the old Dash 6. Yeah, it does look an awful lot like a Komatsu. Looks okay though, says Dan. And also Gary says, looks very cheap inside the cab. I like the seat. The seat looked nice. Apart from that, I agree with you 100%. But maybe it's not for this market, eh? Where are we going next? Oh, I know where we're going with this. We're going with one of these.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Right, okay. Let me just address this very, very quickly. Paddy Simpson, good morning, Paddy, over on Instagram, just said, is it true PP O'Connor was prepared for that scaffold collapse? Yeah, kind of. If you go over to demolitionnews.com, you can actually read all about it. They issued a statement whereby they'd found a fundamental flaw in the building. They were concerned. They did, however, think they got past the worst of whatever was wrong, but the thing came down anyway. It was a building collapse that dragged the scaffold with it. Have a look at demolitionnews.com. The PP O'Connor statement will tell you pretty much all you need to know. So thank you for that. Now, I mentioned on a Friday that I was due to speak to a new friend. Yeah, a new friend, Kevin Soller. He's a Menzie muck operator over in Colorado, or he's based in Colorado, but he travels around a lot. And I was because he works in the mountains. And to give you an idea, he's been stalked by a mountain lion before now. He's had close encounters twice with 9-foot tall bull moose. I mean, I realise they're vegetarian, but they could mess you up quite badly, I would say. Anyway, I was chatting to him, and we were talking about where he works and the landscape and everything else. He actually turned his camera around so I could look out of his window, and there were mountains and everything else. So bear that all in mind, because the film I'm about to show you is not dissimilar to that. I am showing it to you because it's Caterpillar, but I'm also showing it to you for the landscape. Take a look at this.
Hi, I'm Blair Duncan from Wanaka. I have a small company called Summit Civil, which specialises in civil construction work. We do anything from small house connections through to large lot subdivisions. We're here today in Lake Hawea on a project we're working on, which is 93 residential lots. Earth moving's kind of in our family's blood.
Hi, I'm Kane Duncan. I'm the General Manager at Mangatoa Contracting. We're a construction company based out of Wanaka here. We've been a family-owned and operated business that's been going for about 65 years in and around Otago region. The company was founded by my grandfather back in 1958. He mainly specialised in agricultural and farm work around the Dunedin area. He ran quite a fleet of RD2s and RD4s and D4s. So in the 1970s, my father purchased the company and he sort of started focusing more on civil construction and large erosion projects. So me and my twin brother Blair were involved with Mangatoa and the family business from a very young age. We got involved quite heavily in the school holidays and after work and what have you. There was always a bit of a rush to get in the truck and go pick some gear up or go pick a new machine up from the dealership in Dunedin. So it was about 14 when me and Blair actually got in the seat of machines. So from then, fast forward about 30 years, we're still in the same sort of game. We mainly focus on subdivision work and civil construction work around the Wanaka and Central Otago region.
When we established or started Summit 3 years ago now, there was no other option apart from Caterpillar really. The choice was pretty easy. We have 14 bits of plant now, which is all Caterpillar. We added a couple of next gens last year. We've got a 5-ton next gen, the 325 behind us, a 313, and recently we added a 962M to our fleet. I love the Caterpillar machines due to seeing what was on offer 30 years ago with machinery, and Caterpillar were definitely ahead of the pack then. Nowadays they're still ahead of the pack with comfort, technology, and all my boys love driving them, especially here during winter with heated seats. It's definitely the pick of machinery to use in Central Otago.
Over the years, Mangatoa Contracting have really embraced the Caterpillar and Trimble technology that's been put in front of us. We're one of the very first companies in the district that opted to put GPS on our machines. This was back in 2005. So on our fleet now, we have close to 13 sets of Caterpillar and Trimble equipment. Like this site here at Cromwell, we've got 6 machines running GPS.
With technology evolving, Caterpillar's always been at the front of the technology department. We run 9 machines with GPS grade control in it, and pretty much every subdivision we do now is a pegless site. So we'll do the earthworks with GPS, we'll do the drainage, the service trenching, the roading, and there's not much now that really needs pegged out apart from the curb prep really, or the curb staking. Everything's becoming a 3D world when it comes to machinery and technology now.
So in this region around here between Wanaka and Cromwell, we get really good service and support from the Terra branch. So we have a local mechanic who is within 5 minutes of most job sites. He travels to Wanaka and the ski fields as well.
We had a breakdown at Cadrona when I was still at Mangatoa 6 years ago now. We had a 12M drop a valve and a C7 motor, and their mechanic was up there at 10:30 at night pulling the head off this grader, and there was one flying in from Melbourne the next morning and the machine was going 18 hours later, and it happened to be in the middle of a snowstorm. So TerraCat really come to the party.
So within our company, one of the key features we get access to through the Caterpillar equipment and Terra is the online Vision Link platform. This works really well for keeping track of our 29 Caterpillar machines. So this gives you real-time positioning, fuel efficiency, work hours, machine location, any sampling, servicing that's coming up. They give you a 25-hour notice. So this is great for maintaining our service records on our fleet and keeping everything up to date. Mangatoa have had some really good growth over the last 10 to 15 years, and we're looking forward to continuing this success for the next 100 years.
Sorry, something came up on my screen, but I wasn't paying attention. I do apologise for that. Yes, let me go back to this very quickly. Gary Muirhead says, I love it when manufacturers interview the people who actually run their equipment. And it's not just telling us how good they are. Gary, I'll go one further than that. A little trade secret here. I receive press releases from manufacturers fairly regularly. daily, sometimes hourly, when it's a busy time, I get lots and lots of them. If if I read through it and it says, so somebody's bought a bunch of machines or a single machine or whatever it might be, and the person explaining the reasoning behind that purchase is a representative of the manufacturer, I throw away the press release. That's as far as it goes. I don't even bother going any further than that. It might be a fantastic story, but if the only person that's going to say positive things about it is the person that's paid to say positive things, out of here. Matt Agwidig says, I think Caterpillar have gone downhill compared to what they were with reliability. I have to say, Matt, you're not the first person that said that to me. And I do wonder. I mean, I do remember we had a spate a few years ago, maybe 18 months ago, 2 years ago, had a spate of whenever we talk about Caterpillar, people griping about the service from Finning. But yeah, I've heard that a bit too. Bizarrely, I mean, I tend to spend most of my time in the demolition side of things, and the Caterpillar reputation has actually gone the other way. It's gone up rather than going down. But I do hear that from time to time. Anybody's got any experience of that, let me know. Dan Cullen has. He says, I agree, Matt, too. Their parts have gone downhill too. Caterpillar, if you're watching, please let us have some feedback on that. What do we got? Oh, yeah, we've got some attachments in a second. We're getting closer and closer to the annual relaunch of our Wreck the Halls gear. Back in a second after.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Two more films for you today. The first, before our relaunch of the gear, is from MBI, or Mantovani Benny. Basically, they've got they put a film up on YouTube, I think it was yesterday. One of their rotating pulverizers in action. I thought, I like the look of that, but that could do with some music. So I added some music to it, and this is how it sounds. There you go, Mantovani Benny, rotating pulverizers. Now, a very quick explanation. I've already put the link to our merch store in the chat. I promise I won't do this every day because, Christmas is still quite a long way off. And I apologize for the fact that we have a Merry Christmas message in this. The problem you have with merch is you kind of need to allow about 2 weeks before you actually get it. So if I were to leave this until the middle of December, the chances are you wouldn't actually get the Christmas merch by Christmas, which would defeat the object. So I'm starting early. I'll let this lady show off the wares.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays, everyone.
There you are. The power of AI. Yes, I don't know her, obviously, because, nobody looks that good. There you are. You can find that merch over on our merch store. Andy Thornton saying, definitely not AI, lol. Yeah. Definitely is. Dan says she can wear my merch anytime. Looks good. Yeah, it does look good. I have to say, as I say, I'm not gonna bore you with the details, but our Wreck the Halls, it was, and that was a really weird thing. Obviously, there was a song called Deck the Halls with Boughs of Holly, and I thought Deck, Wreck, and I did that maybe 8 years ago. Put it on a t-shirt, sold out. Following year, put them on a t-shirt and a hoodie, sold out. That's where it came from. So yes, there you are. If you'd like to find all that, have a look in the chat. The merch store details are there, and we've got a vertical version of that as well. So if you follow us on Instagram or any of the other platforms like that, you'll be seeing that in the coming days as well. One more film to play you, which is all about compaction, and it features the fine folks at Dynapac. Here we go.
Hey, I'm Paul Holloway, equipment manager with Brent Scarborough and Company. Run Dynapacs for about 3 years now. My job is to basically maintain the fleet, make sure the machines are being utilized, and making sure we're having quick repair options. And I deal with Dynapac and Reynolds Warren. So far with the Dynapacs, we've had very minimal issues. Got a lot of utilization. They've been put a lot of hours on them and haven't had any mechanical failures or big issues at all. The relationship between Brent Scarborough and Company and Dynapac and Reynolds Warren is very good. Don't have any type of complaint on having to wait for a response. They're Johnny on the spot.
We began doing business with Brent Scarborough here a few years back, and it was because they were interested in the Dynapac compaction line. They're all about compaction. That's what's unique about Dynapac. They're a 100-year-old company that's been building compaction equipment for just decades and decades and decades. And so the base of knowledge is really unlike any other company out there. They know their stuff, they know their products, the technology is great, they're reliable machines, and they're a company that knows how to support a dealer, which is very important to me as a person who runs a dealership.
We've used Dynapac for 3 years here at Brent Scarborough and Company, and they've been very great machines. The downtime's very minimum. If we do have a problem, the support, we can just call right up and they'll be out the same day, next day to help us get back going, because they know downtime hurts us in this line of business.
Uptime is everything. A contractor expects their machine to operate every single day. Machines break down from time to time, and when that happens, my company has got to respond first and foremost. We've got to have technicians that know what's going on with the machine, how to get it back up and running. And if we can't, then we've got to be able to supply that contractor with a machine so they can keep their job site active and going. And in some cases, we need additional support from the factory. And Dynapac has been excellent at supporting us, beyond my mechanics and beyond my shop. They've got a group of people that know these machines and are excellent at supporting dealerships if and when we get to that point.
What's impressed me the most is how quickly they respond. I don't know if it's because they deal a lot with the paving industry and everyone knows that their downtime is more important than anybody else in the industry, but every time we have an issue, there's a quick response with Reynolds Warren and Dynapac.
Yeah, nice kit, as Dan Collins says. Yeah, nice kit indeed. We've got a morning monologue for you in a second. It's a work of fiction, but sadly for some people, it will ring true. Just to let you know, over on our Demolition Insider website, who the hell's we? It's me. I've posted a story today called Didcot, A Decade of Dawdling, because it will soon be the 10th anniversary of the Didcot disaster. You can read that over on Demolition Insider. I will drop that over into the WhatsApp group at some point today. You can go and take a look if you so desire. Keep an eye out for that. We've got plenty of other stuff coming up for you this week as well. I'll bore you with it when we get there. But that's about it for the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around for that, please, please, please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. I hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I shall return immediately after this. Andy unlocks the gate just after 6:15. The yard silent in the hazy dawn light. A grey Ford sits where it always does in the car park. Driver's door closed as ice crisscrosses the windscreen. Andy pushes through the site office door and shudders. He didn't expect it to be colder inside than out. He's not had to worry about that before. He flicks on the tiny heater, which slowly begins to spread some warmth and that familiar smell of burning dust through the porter cabin. 7 mugs sit unwashed in the sink from 3 days ago, from before the weekend, from before. He's never considered it before, but his mug, all the mugs, were usually clean when he arrived. He washes them, dries them, and sets 6 by the kettle. A 7th mug, which says World's Best Dad on the side, he places on a shelf. He places tea bags in 2 of the mugs and spoons instant coffee into the remaining 4. He glances at the wall. 7 coat hooks, 6 coats, 6 hard hats sitting on the wooden bench below, 6 pairs of dirty boots caked in mud and weathered by wear. The first of the lads arrives. Terry trudges in, his dirty trainers scuffing the floor. Then Dave appears, checking his phone before placing it on the table. Next comes Jack. He pauses at the shelf, glances at the mugs and then back at the door. Jack used to answer to a nickname. He was never spared that. But today Jack walks straight past without a word. Andy hands out the mugs. He pours, nods to each man quietly. Coffee? A grunt, a nod. No banter. Outside, a big excavator stands silent. Right, lads, Andy says. The words feel flat. He feels out of place even saying them. There's a pause. Right, lads was the first part of that sentence, but the second part, the part that Harris had stolen from the Hill Street Blues TV series, is missing. One of the boys, Dave probably, mutters, "Let's be careful out there," under his breath. He says it quietly, but those words land like falling debris in the hush. The crew strides across the site. They know what to do. They've done it 1,000 times, and yet they hesitate, like an orchestra waiting for the conductor to give them the nod. But they start work. Terry's cutting steel, Dave's processing concrete, and Jack scans the yard, looking for a cue that doesn't come. The radio, which is usually crackling with banter and stupid jokes, is silent. Break time. 6 of them across 2 benches. The seat beside Jack remains empty. Lunch wrappers rustle, but the usual laughter is absent. Jack reaches for his mug as though he's preparing to answer the shout of Spock. Jack made the mistake of telling Harris that he didn't do emotions once. Harris immediately seized on it and named him Spock. The nickname never caught on with the rest of the lads, but it's been a private joke between Jack and his mentor ever since. Andy picks up a wrapper, flicks it towards the bin. He glances at the shelf. The World's Best Dad mug catches his eye. He shifts his gaze away. Back to work. The big excavator still stands cold. The radio static crackles half a second, goes quiet again. The men go about their business in almost total silence. A beam tilts awkwardly as no one calls direction like they usually do. Dave mutters under his breath, catches himself. Terry grunts. Jack just watches on from a safe distance. None of them say it out loud, but they're all thinking it. If it could happen to Harris. Late afternoon. The shift winds down. As the gang trudge back towards the site office, they can see another car in the car park. Familiar, yet out of place. It's a big black Range Rover, an off-road vehicle that's usually parked outside a swanky restaurant in town. The director is waiting for them inside. He's wearing a navy blue pullover that says Boss on the chest. It's the name of the brand, but he wears it like a reminder, a warning. "How we doing, lads?" he says. He doesn't wait for an answer, which is just as well because nobody says anything. "Look, we all know what happened to Michael, and it's very sad. But we've got to put that behind us and just get this job finished. It's what Michael would have wanted." The air crackles with an unspoken anger before he adds, His daughter will pick up his car later in the week. He leaves, possibly sensing the mood, but probably not. The door barely closes behind him before Dave says, "Michael? Nobody called him Michael. He was Harris." Terry kicks a boot across the floor. Michael would have wanted us to get the job finished. That prick couldn't pick Michael out of a lineup. As the rest of the boys take off their work clothes and put on trainers and shoes, Andy sits alone in the corner. As the others file out quietly, he looks at the shelf. 7 mugs, all of them clean. He stands, reaches out, touches the rim of the world's best dad mug, then lets his hand drop. The 6 jackets are back on their hooks. 6 hard hats sit on the bench in their usual place. 6 pairs of filthy boots bear testament to another day in the trenches. While he locks the door, that Ford remains parked in its corner, the ice still gathering on its windscreen. The men gather at the gate. Terry shrugs on his jacket, Dave checks his phone again, and they pause. There should be a familiar booming shout of, "See you tomorrow, lads, another day in paradise." Instead, there's silence. Harsh, claustrophobic, crushing silence. Because on Friday, the man who wore the hard hat with the West Ham badge peeling off it, the man who always arrived first and switched on the heater, the man who left last after he'd washed up the mugs, the man who'd tell them, "Let's be careful out there," the man who'd given Jack the nickname Spock, was killed on this very site just a few days ago. An accident at work. Unavoidable, avoidable, and unnecessary. They'd all agreed to come back to work today to finish what Harris had started, but now it feels too soon, too empty. Andy walks across the car park, past that grey Ford, and he allows his hand to glide across the bonnet. The warmth of his hand melts some of the ice, but the car feels cold. Too cold. Not just icy, but empty, devoid of life. He starts his own car and waits for the heater to melt the ice on the windscreen. "See you tomorrow, lads," he thinks. He hears it in Harris's voice. Another day in paradise. There you are. How's that for your Monday morning? Lovely, cheery start, right? Yeah, Mick Norton's here as well. Good morning, Mick. How you doing, my friend? Yeah, listen, I finished writing out the coming 10th anniversary of Didcot, and that was kind of the inspiration behind that story. I don't know if I've told you this before or not, but I'll tell you regardless, because it kind of sets the context for that. So when I used to go to the Didcot power station, and I went there, I don't know, half a dozen times before and after the disaster, because it was a power station, it was a very secure site. So you'd arrive, wheedle your way through, you'd arrive, and there was a gatehouse, big security gate, guy in an office who would not just check your credentials, but he would send somebody to come and let you in and so on down the line. But before you got to the actual gate, there was a car park, one of these like long, how do I describe it? Like a linear, rather than being it was just like a long, basically a road of car parking spaces. And that's where all the cars stopped. And I remember parking my car there to go, well, I parked my car there several times before the accident that claimed the lives of 4 guys. But I remember going back and parking my car and thinking, the day that happened, that car park would have had 4 cars in it overnight. Everybody else would have come out of the gate, probably, not even probably, in an absolute state of shock, I would imagine, and probably fearing the worst because they didn't actually know what happened to their comrades, and they had to drive out and leave 4 cars behind. It's an image that always stuck with me, even to the point when I went back on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th anniversary, I kind of made a point of parking away from that. It felt like I shouldn't be parked there. I mean, obviously their cars are long gone, and now everything is long gone because the power station demolition is done. But I do remember thinking that's a real significant sign of something. And the other thing that it reminded me of, I went to a demolition guy's funeral, Richard Comley, one of the nicest guys you could possibly hope to meet. and one of the nicest families you could hope to meet, actually. But that's a small aside. But I went through the funeral, and I mean, even had a bit of a chuckle. One of the songs that they played at his funeral was "There's a Hole in My Bucket," which, if you're in the construction and demolition business, means something completely different. And I think, most of the people in the church had a bit of a smile to themselves because Richard had a great sense of humor, and it was, and so I went through all of that. That was fine. Met up with people that we knew in common, mutual friends and that kind of thing. Not a problem at all. And then we went to the wake, which was held at a rugby club, where his son Toby used to play rugby. And they had arranged, like, whenever you went to see the Comleys down at their headquarters, you generally find Richard Comley in a pair of orange overalls, covered in grease, but he's very, very hands-on, a proper tinkerer. And they'd arranged his orange overalls at an empty seat at the wake. And I do remember just seeing that and thinking, yeah, big swallow, and yeah, that really brings it home. So that was the combination of the Didcot car park and that, that idea of going to a site office where there's normally 7 of you, and now there's 6, and there's a gap where a hard hat belonged, or a high-vis jacket belonged, or a pair of boots belonged. And I also wondered about the timing. I mean, I tried when I was writing that to make it seem like the boss was the bad guy, crack old is what he would have wanted and all that kind of thing. But I do wonder how much grace you're given after an accident, a fatality, possibly even an on-site suicide. How much grace are you given? I know there's been some accidents on site in the not too distant past where you get news coming through that a site has been closed down for the day. Does that become 2 days? Does it become a week? How soon is too soon to go back to work after witnessing something like that? I don't actually know the answer to that. I would imagine there are some very, very clever people out there that have probably got some sort of formula for it. I don't know what that is. If somebody could put a message in the chat, I'd be grateful, because the last one I had was from Mick Norton about 8 minutes ago. I mean, I'm clearly not talking to myself because I can see there are people here, but I'm not getting any comments through. So I don't know if the comments have just gone thought, which they do from time to time. So if you are there, if somebody can send me a message just to let me know that we're getting that through, that would be useful. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much indeed, Dan. It does appear that we are talking. There we are. Andy Thornton's here. Dan Cullen's here. Thank you very much indeed, gents. Very touching. Yeah. Well, thank you very much indeed. Yeah. Listen. I don't like to tug at the heartstrings too often, but yeah, talking about Didcot does kind of leave me in that mood, I have to admit. I'm not entirely sure when that will be resolved, to be honest. Will I feel better about it when the whole thing is resolved? If on the 10th anniversary the police say, we are prosecuting, or we're not, if they actually give us some sort of answer, will that stop being such a painful memory? I don't know. Matt says, "What a nice touching memory of him." Yeah, it was, and I expect to see Richard Comley's son Toby at Paul Brown's funeral, which we haven't got a date for yet. I do need to check that. So yes, I'm expecting to see him at the funeral, and I would imagine that will bring the whole thing flooding back. Demolition funerals are a strange thing. Demolition men tend to be all, blokey and manly and butch and everything else, and then you see the manly butch guys with tears rolling down their face. It's a tough one, it really is. Listening to it, I doubt if it'll ever be fully resolved. I wonder. Yeah, I do wonder. We all need time to reflect. Yeah, we do. And again, I mean, I think that this is not my area of expertise. It's more Andy's area of expertise. But you know, having lost both my parents, having lost my best mate, having lost my father-in-law, and seeing how me and my children and my wife and other people have grieved for all those losses. Everyone grieves in a different way. I wonder if there is, a formula is the wrong word, but I wonder if there is like that's an acceptable amount of time for everybody to process what's happened and you know, to do their own private grieving. Now it's time to get back to work. And at the end of the day, you know, everybody needs to earn a living. Particularly, you know, if you're self-employed, you're not being paid if you're not working, and so on down the line. So I would imagine there's a part of you wants to get back to work, but how soon is too soon to go back to a site where there's been a serious accident, a fatality, a suicide? Enda O'Doherty says, very nice memory. Thank you very much indeed, Enda, and good to see you here. There'll be something held out, and those accountable will probably get a slap on the wrist. I don't know. I don't know. I always say this when we talk about Didcot. The most important thing, and I told this to the lady from the ITV on Friday last week. The most important thing for me is that the families get closure. That, you know, that's that important. Everything else is kind of secondary or tertiary. That's the most important thing. Second to that, I would say I would like nothing more than for the demolition company, the demolition fraternity, to be exonerated. I'd love for Thames Valley Police to come back and say, actually, you know, following our investigations, we have concluded that the fault was not with the demolition company, but was with the client, the design of the structure, whatever it might be. You know, just something to take the blame and the hurt away from the demolition industry. I don't know whether that will happen. I really don't. And 10 years on, do I expect some sort of resolution? I mean, I when I spoke to the lady from the ITV, I actually said, you know, are you doing this interview because you're aware of some sort of conclusion forthcoming? And she said, not really. She said, we are hoping that the 10th anniversary will mark a shift. You know, that Thames Valley Police will say it's 10 years, we're doing this, and draw a line in the sand. But I actually said to her, you know, do you think that's the case? And she said, I've got no idea. It wasn't based on anything. It's just a gut feel. And unfortunately, it's a gut feel I've had for the last 9 years. You know, with every passing anniversary of that terrible, terrible day, you get the same feeling again. And I do think, I mean, they've reworded it, but the last 3 anniversaries, I think in each instance, the Thames Valley Police have issued a statement on the anniversary and said something along the lines of, you know, we are entering the closing stages. How long do closing stages take? If I was talking closing stages, I'd be talking weeks, days. I wouldn't be talking years. But as I reminded myself when I was writing the piece over on Demolition Insider, it was on. It was 6. Was it 6 years ago? Let me just check. I can't remember if it was 6 years ago or whether they said it. Let me have a very quick look. Yeah, 6 years ago. So on the 4th anniversary of the Didcot disaster, Thames Valley Police predicted that the investigation could run for years. Turns out that was a huge, huge, huge understatement. Grief is a funny thing. People react differently. They certainly do. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know, I don't know whether it was an age thing. As I say, I lost both my parents in 2022. Hit my sister very, very hard. I wouldn't say I laughed it off, but you know, you know, obviously very upset, but it didn't really, you know, there weren't floods of tears or wailing or whooping or anything like that, whereas my sister did a lot of that. When my father-in-law died at the beginning of this year, I was expecting my wife to be very, very, you know, tearful and everything else. She had one morning where there was some tears. There was a couple of tears at the funeral, but apart from that, no, she toughed it out, really toughed it out. And yet we've had other people that we've lost along the way. You know, my son's best mate, 32 years old. Maybe it is an age thing because we were, you know, the entire family was in absolute bits over that. It's weird, very, very weird. Anyway, people, having dragged you down on a Monday morning, as if Monday mornings aren't hard enough, I'm going to love you and leave you. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully with something a little bit more cheerful. I don't know what I've got in mind. I'll come up with something. Don't you worry about it. We'll be back tomorrow with yet more of the same. Until then, everybody, have a fine and splendid day. Bearing in mind all that I've just said. Look after yourselves. It doesn't get easier. Just accepting they won't come back in my grief experience. Matt, you're absolutely right. One of the things I still find hard now, particularly with my mum, actually more than anything else, was when things happen and you think, oh, I must tell her. Oh no, I can't tell her anymore. That's a toughie. Dan saying, have a great day, guys. Andy Thornton, cheers all. And Chris Hall, back just in time for the finish. Chris, you know what you missed, right? Yeah. Oh, there were. They were dancing and there was money. You missed it all. Such a shame, because you'd have enjoyed that. Stay dry and warm. It's bloody cold out. It is. I went out to put our bins are collected on a Monday morning. Went out to put them out this morning. Rather regretted it. Bloody freezing out there. I was there, says Andy Thornton. Yeah, you saw the dancing girls, right? Yes, fantastic they were. And our friend Matt Agridix says, stay safe, guys. Matt, back at you, my friend. You stay safe as well. I'll be back again tomorrow if we get more of the same. Until then, everybody, go do your thing in a safe and careful manner, would you? As it says in the story, let's be careful out there.